And start recording. There you go. Cool.
Okay, everyone. My name is Molly Murrah, and I am the current president of Northwest Watercolor Society, and I want to welcome you to the reception for our 80th annual International Open Exhibition, which was quite an exhibition this year because we got about twice as many entries as we normally get, and it was really exciting for us. And I'm sure there were a number of reasons for that. There were several reasons for it, but we were just thrilled to get that many entries in this show, although it made the selection of the people who were going to get accepted into the show, because we only accepted 75 paintings out of 674, made that very difficult for our juror, as Ron will explain to you when I introduce him. So we've had some technical issues with the gallery for the exhibition on our website, and I'm really sorry about that. We don't know what the problem is. We used a gallery that we've used before, and everything was fine, and it looked wonderful. And then as soon as we made it public, we were watching it and setting it up in the background, and as soon as we made it public, it started to sort of go wonky. So we posted a catalog of the open show catalog online, and you can see all of the paintings in the catalog there. I blocked out the award winners because we didn't want to make those known until tonight. And after tonight, we will put the full catalog online, and you'll be able to look at that whenever you want. I looked at the gallery this morning. It was perfect. I looked at it tonight, and it was only showing 5 slides. So I'm not sure what the problem is, but we'll try to get it fixed. So I do want you to sit back and pour yourself a glass of wine and have a good time, because it's going to be a fun evening. Ron is a great guy, and he's put together a really lovely presentation of all of the art that's going to be in the show. I'd like to introduce the panelists. The person who's been talking to you for the last 10 or 15 minutes before we started recording is Peggy Myers. She's our treasurer at Northwest Watercolor Society, and she's handling the chat room tonight. So Peggy, introduce yourself and let them know what your job is.
Okay, I'm going to be monitoring chat. So the way it's going to go is Ron is going to say a few words, and then there'll be a video about the awards, and then he'll come back. But as you have questions, make them pertinent to that everyone would want to have an answer to, and I will monitor as best I can to get all the questions answered.
Okay, perfect. Then I'd like to introduce the 3 co-chairs for the show, and they are Doreen Kosh-Allen and Cindy Bai and Mary Shasau Shoemaker. So you 3, you've got the floor.
Hi all, good evening. Welcome to the online reception. My first online reception, and obviously it would have been really amazing to meet all the artists who could attend the reception. But overall, I'm very proud to have been part of this online show in terms of watching all the entries coming on in, acting as a liaison between all the other amazing entities, especially Molly, all the different chair positions that help to make this whole thing come together. All of you worked so very, very hard. My co-chairs were amazing, and really to watch the paintings start coming in when the entry period started. They first started trickling in, and then they started coming in, and after hundreds had come in, we were like, wow. So I was thinking Ron will have a very, very difficult job. There was some beautiful work. Congratulations to you 75 artists who were chosen for this show. It's pretty exciting. And welcome and enjoy the evening. And I will turn the next speech over to Mary.
I'm Mary Shasau Shoemaker, and first of all, I'm a very proud member of Northwest Watercolor Society.
Can you speak up a little bit, Mary? Yeah.
I'm Mary Shasau Shoemaker, and I first want to say that I'm very proud to be a member of the Northwest Watercolor Society. It's an awesome society. It's very proactive, and it's just a blessing for our community, and nationally and now internationally known. I think it's an awesome thing. I just want to say that when I first signed on to this, I was going to be in charge of the reception and the caterer because I'm not very techy. So I found myself after COVID in a very lost position. So I did my best to support my co-chairs and try to do a little bit of first drafting and proofreading. I got a chance to work with Peggy, and we figured out how to resolve about the entries on about 26 people to get them into our show because they had beautiful work and they did everything right, but there's just one little problem. And I had the honor of going out and choosing all the things that our co-host award includes, and some lucky person will be getting that this evening. So just to let you know, and I'm going to turn you over to Cindy Baim.
Cindy Baim, and I want to echo what my girlfriends have said. It's such a pleasure to be a part of this organization and to work so closely. And I know we're officially co-chairs, but I got to tell you, the bulk of the work is done by, as Molly was saying, the other volunteers. It's phenomenal. The work can be a little cumbersome at times, but when it gets to after the, that the juror makes their decisions, and then it's my job to contact those that were accepted, and then to contact the award winners. And I got to tell you, that is more fun than I can possibly imagine, both aspects of it. When I send out the notices to the 75 winners, I find myself in dozens of conversations, and just beautiful, wonderful. I have so much fun. And then of course the highlight is when I get to call the award winners, and it's just, I got to tell you, it's a blast. It is absolutely more fun than I'm entitled to. So I appreciate the honor of being able to do it. And it's been an experience, and I treasure it.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough, because this was their second year of doing this. And that's a huge commitment, because it is a lot of work. And I don't know whether it was harder for you this year than it was last year. Last year it was it was harder because it was such a different format, and everybody had to learn what they had to do and all of that kind of stuff. But now it's under your belt, maybe you'll think about some future time in which you want to partner again with us. So, because we'd love to have you. So there are specific volunteers that I really want to thank. I don't know how we could do this without them. And at the top of the list are Debbie Roskoff and Jody Steele. Debbie Roskoff is our website liaison, and Jody Steele is our webmaster. And I don't even know how to thank them for their diligence and their creativity and their ability to put things together online for us and for Northwest Watercolor Society in a way that, would put me in the grave. So I adore both of them. They're just fabulous people. Shirley Jordan and Sherry Cannell are our digital curators. Shirley Jordan took this job on this year for the first time, expecting to handle maybe 350 to 375 entries. And for her first job, learning how to work with this very complicated spreadsheet, she had 674 entries to deal with. So let me tell you, I bow down to Shirley for how hard she had to work and how difficult this was for her. And also to Sherry Cannell, because she was Shirley's backup, and Sherry taught Shirley basically everything she needed to know. I'd also like to thank our database admin, which is Debbie Hagman. And again, think about 674 entries and all of the information that comes in on each one of those entries. And you know how much work it is for a database person to pull all of that together and find the holes and find the mistakes and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, when you get an entry that's a horizontal entry and they give vertical dimensions, somebody has to contact the artist and find out what the dimensions really are. And there's just a lot of work to all of that. And then Peggy Myers, whom you've all met, she's our chat. I call her my wingman, but she's our chat person. And she is the treasurer of Northwest Watercolor Society and has been the treasurer for what, Peggy, 7 years, 8 years?
No, since 2011, so 9 years.
Yeah, like 9 years. Unbelievable. I had to beg her to stay on this year so that she could help me, and I'm so glad she did. But again, think about the effort and the time involved in tracking all of those entries and the payments for everything that came in from everybody. And Victoria Jendretsky did a magnificent job in the awards this year. Yes. I mean, she was so organized. Daniel Smith, the president of Daniel Smith, wrote me and said she was fabulous. She just did an amazing job. So Victoria, thank you. I wish you could stay in the job a little longer, but I understand your needs to be with your family and everything, but we just can't thank you enough. And then finally, our publicity chair, Sarah Love, who is a really good personal friend of mine. And she's the one who gets our name out there in the art community. And she scores amazing coups and watercolor artists and all these magazines and online things and places our digital ads and everything. And she works her tail off to promote Northwest Watercolor Society. And I can't thank her enough either. So now I'm going to introduce Ron Stoke. He is a juror and was our workshop instructor for the workshop that we just had for the last, well, just this past week. The workshop was from Monday through yesterday. So Ron, before we get into our little question and answer thing, why don't you talk just a little bit about the workshop?
Yeah, hi, Molly. Welcome, everybody. This is the clean corner of my studio. It was a great workshop. We had, I think it was 25 plus people. Normally, in a workshop where I'm present, that's a lot of folks. But this year being kind of strange, we did it online, and I think it worked out great with some of the new technology through the Zoom program. I was able to annotate onto some of the students' artwork, and I think, at least reading the responses, that it went fairly well.
We ended up getting, here's what happened. In our last general meeting, we still had 4 spots left. And I made an announcement and played a little promo video for the workshop. And before we could even get online and close down the registrations, we got 2 extra people on top of what our limit was. And that's why we ended up with 24 people in the workshop instead of 22. So thank you all for those of you who jumped in at the last minute. And thank you, Ron, for accepting 2 extra students into the workshop. That was very generous of you. So.
Well, absolutely. It made it for a really fun workshop. And let me thank all of the students and all of the volunteers. We had a great group of students, but without Min, Rosin, and Nancy Jenkins, who I apologize, I continued to call her Kathy all week. Without them, it wouldn't have run as smoothly as it did.
Yeah, Min and Nancy have been our workshop co-chairs for a couple of years now, and they just do a bang-up job. We have such conscientious, wonderful people at Northwest Watercolor Society. When you turn something over to them, you know it's going to be done well, and I'm thrilled about that. All right, so Ron, give us a brief history of Ron. You know, what's your schooling and your teaching and your traveling, and tell us a little bit about your book too.
Sure, thanks. Well, I, like many artists, I started out fairly young. You know, I was interested in just sketching and drawing, never thinking that it would do anything. But as I progressed through school, I also progressed in my artistic ability. And then in high school, I was fortunate enough to meet my mentor, a gentleman by the name of Chuck Nas, who really just kind of changed how I looked at art in general. He was an accomplished Northwest watercolorist, and he kind of took me under his wing, and we painted through the 4 years of high school. And then him and his family became a friend of my family, and we painted for a few years after that. I went to school, went to college to become an illustrator, and did that for a number of years out of college. And that, you know, somewhat paid the bills and taught me a lot, taught me about deadlines and working with the customers. But eventually it wasn't what I wanted to do. I had learned in school to draw fairly well and to draw, fairly exact. So I labored over a lot of my work. And then later I just, started looking at artists that I admired and wanted to loosen up like many watercolorists do. So I was in Reno at the time. I spent my, probably a third of my young life in Reno, Nevada. And I was managing an art store at the time. And I was in charge of all of the workshops. So I would call these guys in that I wanted to learn from and just make sure that I was at the workshop and I would get a free workshop. Well, guys like Zoltan Szabo, who was one of my favorites, and he was actually very instrumental in Chuck Naz's stuff. So there was a common thread there. And so I took a couple workshops from Zoltan and then a few other artists, local artists, and then painted for a number of years, just kind of entering shows here and there, but not taking it as seriously as maybe I do now. And then my wife and I at the time, we had moved to Portland, Oregon, and I noticed that Alvaro Castanet was teaching a workshop there in town. And I thought, I'll probably never get a chance to take his workshop again. So I signed up for that. And he really, as you can see, I have a similar style to him. He really changed the way I think about painting and explained it really, really well. He explained it so that I just could understand it a little bit better than previously. And then, I did a few things that kind of took off. I won a few competitions, got into some shows and started showing in the Watercolor magazine, Artist magazine. And then in 2018, I was approached by Walter Foster, Quattro Books, to do a book on plein air watercolor, which I was extremely excited to do. I had always wanted to do a book. And it's funny, you write down notes and you make notes throughout the years to yourself, but then when you have to compile them into a book, it seems you can't use any of those notes that you've been collecting for years. You have to start fresh and start over. But the experience was great. The response to the book has been great. And I got to tell you a funny story. A group of artists, I went over to China last year with a group of artists, and we were in the Beijing Watercolor Institute, and they were filming each of us doing a demo and broadcasting it out to the country of China. And right before I was to start painting, I was sitting in the chair, camera on me, lights on me. I was hot and sweaty. And this young Chinese gal comes up and she shoves her phone and her smartphone in front of my face. And she can't speak English. I can't speak any Chinese, but she just had the cover of my book that she had looked up in Chinese. So I spent the rest of the trip trying to get into an art store or a bookstore to buy a copy, but I never had a chance.
So how long has your book been out?
It was
copy
printed
of it you can hold up, Ron? Do you have a copy of your book?
I do.
Why don't you hold it up?
This is the cover.
Yeah, nice.
There you go. And it was printed in December 2018. I believe now it's on its 6th or 7th printing. So we've done really well with it, and many of the workshop students already had the book, and those who didn't, I'm sending them a copy for those who wanted to buy it. Most of them did, and yeah, it's really been fun.
Fantastic. So you kind of answered my second question, which was who influenced you the most in your art? And that was Nas. Now, Ron, did you grow up here in the Pacific Northwest? Did you go to school here?
Well, I went to school in Yakima. I moved from Nevada to Yakima and went to high school and then college near Yakima.
Okay, and where was, what was his name, Nas, first name?
Yeah, Chuck.
Chuck Nas, where was
Yeah.
he your mentor the most?
Yeah, I'd say, just showed me that, it's something that could be done in your life. My mother was artistic, and my father, he was a roofer, construction worker, and my mother was a blackjack dealer. And so there wasn't a lot of museums that we went to when we were young. So I really had to find that myself, and Chuck just really helped utilize a lot of that stuff that I'm very thankful for.
My parents, neither one of my parents could even draw a stick figure. And yet my sister is artistic and I'm artistic. So go figure where all that stuff comes from.
Sure,
Who knows?
sure.
So what is your most important criteria when you judge a show? What is it that if you made a list of 5, what would be your number one criteria?
Well, let me start at the bottom if I can, because I think it makes more sense. When I was asked to do this, they sent me the contract, Northwest Watercolor Society, which I've been a member of for over 15 years. And it's one of the finest and best societies in the nation and internationally. Such a great group of people. And I'm not doing that as a shameless plug, Molly. I really love you guys. And, I only wish I could do more with you guys. But anyways, they sent me the contract years ago, and they booked these artists out years prior. And so then when I signed the contract, it was, oh, great. It'll be in 2020. I got a lot of time. But then when, it came down to it and I started to receive, the details, Molly told me that there was over 670 pieces of art that I had to look at. I just thought, how daunting this is going to be, because I know I'm going to see some of my peers. I'm going to see artists that I don't know. I'm going to see new upcoming artists. And it really just made it more serious than apparently I had been taking it. But when I look at shows, obviously artistic ability is something that it needs to be there. Does the artist compose the piece well? Are they familiar with values and light? Are their drawing skills up to speed? But then I look for people who are trying to push the watercolor medium. For so long, I think that many of us, and I'll definitely include myself in this, we've been under the shadow of that wishy-washy watercolor. I'm married to an oil painter, and she always cracks wise with me about that. But it has started to change. I'd say in the last decade, it has really changed. I see more watercolors that are breaking barriers than oils. Mm-hmm. And I think that's relatively new in the art world anyways. And there's a couple pieces that you'll see in the show that did do that. I had to look at them a couple times to figure out the technique that they were using, and it was just really, really made for an interesting show. But to answer your main question, Molly, it's does the painting have a mood? Does it excite me? Does it grab me as I'm filing through 670 some odd pieces? Does it pop and grab me? And that is something that I think as artists, we all strive to do. We don't want to just recreate a photograph or a image on location. We want to put a little bit of ourselves in there and grab that viewer with some excitement and some mood. This show, as you guys will see, is filled with some of the most beautiful watercolors, and I'm serious, that I've seen. They are just phenomenally done. The technique is beautiful and challenging, and you'll really be pleased with some of the work. I just wish I could have had a couple, maybe 150, Molly.
Everybody always says that to us, Ron. Every juror comes back and says to us every single show, I wish you had 10, 15, 20 more awards. They all say that. So
Absolutely.
The quality of work out there in the world is amazing, and it's inspiring, and we're so lucky. We're so lucky because we got so much of it entered into this show.
Yeah.
So one final question.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to an artist who has never entered a show before but wants to start?
Yeah. Well, to anybody, you know, I fought for a long time deciding whether my paintings were good enough to show, and I probably waited longer than I should have. I would just say to anybody and everybody who's questioning it, and just enter it. Just enter any and every show you can. Think about the marketplace that we have now as artists that 10 and 20 and 30 years ago we didn't have. With the internet, it is just you know, it's a different world. And my generation, you know, and I count myself as the pre-internet generation, we just didn't have this opportunity that you guys have right now. But I think more importantly, what you were maybe getting at was what should, or what do jurors look at? And I think as far as a artistic application, make sure that the viewer knows where to go as soon as they see your painting. Direct that viewer's eye. So you'll have a strong area of dominance, a strong target area. Learn about values. It's one of the most important aspects of what we do. Try to get some mood and some energy into the painting, because I think that's what elevates your work. And then I'll share a great story that's in one of my books from Ed Whitney, who is, you know, just a master and influenced so many American watercolorists. On his last day at Pratt teaching, he walked up to one of the giant chalkboards and drew as large as he could the word draw, and continued down the wall with his piece of chalk, and then dropped it and walked out. So draw as much as you can. That's
true. And I totally get that. Draw as much as you can. And I want to say one more thing about people who are thinking about entering a show. To reiterate what Ron said about just enter, just do it. Also realize that you don't enter just to get accepted. Your entry also supports the organization that you're entering the show of, right? So if you want art to continue being a driving force in our lives, which I think we all do, support the art organizations that you love and that you want to be a part of, and just keep entering. There's, you know, I know some people have a monetary restraint. Just do the best you can, because every dollar is appreciated by the organization whose painting you enter. I know it certainly means a lot to us. So, all right, so Ron, take it away. You're going to show the video, and you're going to talk about the paintings, and you're going to announce the award winners at the end.
That's right. Well, I'm gonna play a video for you guys, and it'll run for about 40 minutes. I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to say the artist's name, the title of the painting, and then a brief critique. So I gave everybody, almost a minute there. So sit back and enjoy this fantastic art.
And let me just say one thing here.
Yeah.
If you have any questions at all during the course of running the video, put them in the chat. Peggy will coalesce them and we'll have a discussion with Ron at the end.
Here we go. Rolling Stone by Christina Alfrey. I chose this painting because, one, I'm a fan of abstract work, and she balanced this painting exceptionally well with the positive and negative, the organic and the calligraphy line work. Plus, I love the limited palette that she used. What I Know Now by Kate Aubrey. I chose a few portraits for this show. This one just had a sense of strong mood, and it was so well executed. The Gasworks by Diana Arigema. For those of you who live in the Pacific Northwest, you're familiar with Gasworks Park. It was the site of an old Seattle gas light company and gasification plant. Its lines and shapes are a great subject to paint, and I'd recommend any of you plein air painters to check out the park if you can. Longing by Enda Bardell. This struck me as soon as I saw it. So simple. It's what watercolor is meant to be. The contrast between that really loose sky and the somewhat controlled foreground with the boat as the target area. Just a lovely, lovely painting. Tidal Harvest by Matthew Bird. Matthew, I don't know how you did this. The detail in this painting is really just exceptional. And who doesn't love Tabasco, oysters, and a beer? This is Cascade Canyon in Grand Teton National Park by Jessica Bryant. Jessica, you handled this painting lovely, captured the distant perspective in the hillside in the background, and lovely light in the foreground right-hand side. Just a very nice painting. This is Perishable by Andrea Burke. Very limited palette, which I like. Great graphic shapes with the organic pears. I think this was handled very, very well. This is Pots and Pans by Kathy Baim. Who knew that pots and pans could be such an interesting subject to paint? I thought this painting just had so many fun elements in it. The metal was handled so well and very simply, very well done. This is Under the Manhattan Bridge by Kimming Chin.
an iconic bridge in New York City. Handled very well, very nice architectural piece, excellent color choices. Very well handled. This is Looking Inward by Connie Clutter. Connie handled this portrait very well. The highlights on the face are just so well done. Shadows under the neck, how it softens as it rolls into the chin is just marvelous. Background, which is a loose wash, works very well. Sense of Space by Kathy Collins. I know Kathy's work very well. She does an excellent job at a moody, kind of mistful Pacific Northwest feel. Reflections are always well done. And just with that sweet spot where the two figures are is composed very nicely. This is Spring Ahead by Kathy Dworak. I'd be curious to find out how long this took Kathy, because it is really well done. The chrome that she accomplished here is just almost lifelike. This is Ruby Beach by John Hebner. John is a well-known Pacific Northwest artist who's influenced many artists in the area. He's very well known for scenes like this, and he handles them better than anyone. I love the graphic line throughout the work that enhances the soft washes. This is Unspoken by Bev Ekman, another lovely portrait that we have in the show this year. I love the limited palette and the harmony of colors that Bev used here. The expression on the face is so well done, and I love the loose quality around the target area. This is The Karaoke Singers Duet by Mary L. What a fun painting this is. I really enjoyed the gradation of warm and cool colors throughout the figures. Plus, it's pretty brave to do that big of a dark valued background, but it connects the figures really well. Well done. This is The Art Student by Z Fang. What a lovely classic portrait this is. The loose, energetic brushstrokes in the background and some of the clothing in the figure, and all of the attention is spent on the face. Luca, Italy by Ryan Fox. I've been exactly in that spot, and he handled it really well. It's very graphic in nature, really limited palette, which I like, and I have no problem finding the area of dominance. Well done. This is a view from San Marcos Square, done by Rita Fernandez. I think she handled the back island very well, even though it's warm colors. She kept the value correct, so it recedes. I would have liked to have seen a stronger value somewhere in one of the boats, so it drove your eye to a particular one. But other than that, this is very well done. This painting is titled Windows by Christy Galindo Dyson. I was immediately drawn to this abstract, which we have a few in the show this year, by the color and just the energy of the painting. Very well done. This is Via Tribunal by Antonietta Georgieva. Antonietta captured the light on the back buildings particularly well. It goes well with the loose brushwork throughout the painting. The grays in the foreground and lower left, right, and right hand upper corner help focus the eye right exactly where the artist wanted. This is Metalworks by Lori Goldstein Warren. Yet another really fun painting of an object that we see every day that who knew would make such an interesting painting. This painting is titled Boat of the Day by Katherine Hillis. I think the artist handled this, what can be a complex subject, very well by simplifying the shapes, adding a little perspective to the racks. Also helped make the composition a little bit more interesting. This painting is titled Fountain of Blossoms by Catherine James. Obviously, this artist has some talent and skill, beautiful florals and leaves. And oftentimes floral artists can overdo it with too much color, but this is a really strong painting due to the limited palette she chose. This painting is titled Natural Bridges by Kathy Johnson. Kathy handled this particularly well. I think one of the strongest elements of this painting is how little details she applied to the water as it drifts off to the background, which is exactly how it should be. Very well done, Kathy. This is Spring Bloom by Peter Jones. The artist has a very strong vanishing point and area of dominance that the viewer has no problem seeing. I think the shadows along with the reflections in the water add a really nice calligraphic line to the painting. Very well done. This is Lilac Fairy by Bev Joswick. Bev is also a well-known Pacific Northwest artist. She does this very well. I believe this is on hot press paper. What I particularly like about the painting is how Bev handles her backgrounds by not letting them compete with the main figure. This is Mis Compañeros by Tia Crater. Who doesn't have a pile of brushes in their studio, which they may or may not use? I thought this painting was just kind of a fun symbol of all artists that buy way too many brushes throughout our lives, but how important they are to us. This painting is Pomegranates and Grapes Squared by Chris Krapinski. What a lovely still life. Chris handled the light particularly well in this. Even though the blanket or the quilt is very detailed, I don't think it detracts at all. This is an ode to the artist's technique. Very well done. This is Always by Rebecca Kretzinger, and another portrait in the show. But what struck me about this is how little attention she spent to the on the background and how it connects through the lights and darks of the face and arm. I thought it was just a very well thought out painting. This is titled Sun After the Rain by Eric Lynn. Just a lovely example of watercolor. Loose, wet clouds connecting to some hard edges. The shadows in the foreground directing the viewer's eye right to the focal point. I can't find anything bad to say about this, Eric. This is Rocky Shore by Carol Loeb. I originally thought this was an abstract as well, but a closer look, I just was blown away by the strength of the quietness of this painting. Simple color palette. And Carol, if you would have added one more brush stroke, you would have ruined it. So good for you for stopping when you did. Such a lovely piece. This painting is titled This Is Our Exile by James Maria. Wow, James, I can't believe the detail that you were able to accomplish in this. If not the rust on the metal and the machinery, the old, worn up paper and discarded objects on the bottom were really a testament to your talent. This painting is from a series, Unrecognized Essential Workers series. The painting is titled Immigrant Farm Workers 1 by Robert Masala. Look, strong value, strong focal point, simple palette, equal good painting. Very well done. And He Sang for Free is the title of this painting done by Carol McSweeney. Yet another beautiful portrait chosen for this show this year. This painting is just handled so well. This painting is titled Matte by Molly Murrah. Extremely well done. The background, you almost don't even have to squint. The background just gets lost in focus, and the strength of the light on this figure's face is extremely well done. Very nice painting. This is titled Morning Walk in Kyoto by Wu Lam Nang. I particularly like this painting because of the use of white space. And you can see that connection of the ribbon of light that just connects this entire painting. Really simple palette of cools and warms done with the telephone poles and the lines just make for a really nice piece. This is Ella by Ted Nettle. We all know Ted. This is what he does best, and you can see why he's a very well-known watercolorist. Lovely, lovely painting. This painting is called Cascade by Jennifer Olson. Those of us who live in the Pacific Northwest have seen a scene like this many times. I particularly like how she handled the madrona tree. The color and shadows opposed to the foliage is just very well done. This is Opulent Water Lily by Ann Pember. It's just a beautiful painting of a water lily, and particularly how the artist cropped this painting. It's connected to three sides, the right, left, and upper section of the painting. And it has no problem driving the viewer's eye directly to where the artist intended. This is Blue Refraction by Lisa Pope. Another one of the realistic, I guess you would call this a still life, but the reflections in both the marbles and the rocks and the vase are just incredibly done. Sidewalk Cassette by Chris Preslin. I've seen people doing this over in Europe quite a bit, and it's an incredible scene to see. And Chris captured it really well here. I think the figure is well done, and the shadows are very well connected. It's a nice piece, Chris. This is Cranberry Lake, Camano Island by John Ringen. John's also a well-known Northwest watercolorist, and this is why. He is very simple in his approach, and it's exactly how watercolors are meant to be. This painting is Knock by J. Anna Roberts. Another one of these paintings of taking just an ordinary object and setting it up to paint. This one is pretty complicated, looking at some of the glass or crystal or plastic knobs there. I'd be curious to hear how long this took. Very nice painting. Afternoon Glide by Mary Rollins. Really a graphic look to this painting with the reflections in the background. I thought were particularly well, and the reflections were just magnificently done. Coffee on the Plaza by Charles Rose. It's just a well-done cityscape of a couple sitting in a quiet plaza. I particularly like the graphic nature of the chairs. That could have been way overdone, but I believe Charles handled this really well. Motor Grader 4 by Joseph Santos. Almost an abstract, and I think Joseph would agree that its intent was to confuse the viewer for the first few seconds before they realized what they were looking at. Strong color, strong clean color in this painting, and that's why I chose it. Shoe Trouble in Shanghai, done by Thomas Schaller. Tom's a well-known painter for his cityscapes. This is kind of a fun painting of two figures struggling with a shoe, maybe after the vows were taken. One of Tom's strengths is his limited palette and his drawing ability. This painting is titled Afternoon Break, done by Shelley Krapinski-Supple. I just thought this painting was a lovely rendition of a figure sitting, enjoying a little break. I think the artist captured the light very well in this piece. Just yet another strong figure painting in the show. Along Solitario Sawmill Road is the title of this painting. It's done by Richard Sneary. And one thing that I really enjoyed about this painting is the tension brought by the building and the car, even the tree in the background, and the looseness of the brushwork in front just makes this a really beautiful piece. Well done. A Place to Call Home from Eileen Sudzina. I haven't seen Eileen's work much, but if this is any indication, she's got a strong future. Beautiful original style, just really strong. I'll definitely be watching for her in the future. This painting is titled Exotic Number 5 by Suz Cheng Tan. Another lovely abstract for the show this year. Limited palette, strong shapes. And I particularly enjoy when I can see the viewer's pencil line or the drawing left in the painting. Very nice. This is a painting entitled Homeless in Lisbon by Don Taylor. Handled really well with the wet on wet washes in the background, connecting the figures' clothing with the really energetic and exciting pop of red on the headscarf. This painting is titled Nisqually Delta in January, done by Stephanie Twigg. What can I say? This is what watercolor is supposed to look like. Beautiful washes, really moody, simple painting, and yet look how strong the composition and, more importantly, the mood is of this painting. Very well done, Stephanie. This painting is titled Dueling Pintails by Lorraine Wadry. Not many animal images selected for the show this year, but you can see why I selected this one. Obviously, Lorraine has beautiful technique and really knows what she's doing. This is Ramirez Market in San Miguel, done by Roger Whitlock. This is a perfect example of restraint in a painting. The clean color, simple shapes, nice value, just makes for a really strong watercolor. Fire and Ice, done by Eve Withrow. Eve really turned in an excellent painting this year. You can argue this is an abstract or a landscape, but I think the quality of this painting is one of the best of the show. Just a lovely, lovely technique. The Magnitude of the Problem, number 2. This is by Suze Wolf. Suze turned in a series of 3 of these, and they were so interesting I could have picked either one, but I chose this one just because it showed the technique a little bit better than the other 2. And I thought it made for a very interesting painting. This is Urban Sunset, done by Yanlin Wu. I chose this painting again because of the combination of simple shapes breaking into this calligraphic edge and line that connects both the top and the bottom of the painting. Plus the light was done very well. This is Old Street in Shanghai, done by Yun Zhang. Beautiful light in this painting, and notice how The tree on the left, this large shape, connects the figures, the shadows, all the way over to the building on the right-hand side. The shadows and color on the buildings are so clean, directing the viewer right where the artist intended. This is titled Backyard Lovely by Jacqueline Zumalt. Another lovely floral painting that I selected for the show. Lovely light, color. The color is clean and the edges are sharp where they need to be and lost where they need to be. I just think it's a beautiful piece. This is the winner of the Northwest Watercolor Society's Membership Award. It is Believing in Magic by Leslie Lambert Redhead. Such a lovely landscape. Beautiful color, strong saturation. I just think out of one of the landscapes that really stood out in the show. This painting is receiving the Strathmore Award. It is titled First Starlight by Thomas Bucci. When I first saw this painting, it just knocked my socks off. Just the mood alone tells me that this artist knows what they're doing. Simple, limited palette. I guess 3, maybe 4 colors is all the artist used. But what a strong, moody painting this is. Very well done. This painting is receiving the H.K. Holbein Award. The title is Dispossessed #1, done by Liz Walker. What another haunting, moody painting. I love the figure that dissolves into just almost this abstract wash. The gesture of the figure is just almost haunting in this, and a very simple palette, but what a strong result. This piece is receiving the International Open Co-Chairs Award. It's titled Thai Women by Marnie Becker. And what Marnie has done well, does well in this is she builds up washes to create form in the faces and hands, plus keeps the color extremely clean, so it just pops off the paper. Marnie, just a really, really good painting. This painting is receiving the Jack Richardson Award. The painting is titled Cascade Dance by Sandy Haight, and just a magnificent painting. I think the first word I said was wow when I saw this. Obviously, taking florals to a different level in creating almost an abstract and allowing the viewer really to become engaged and figure out what they're looking at, and then having a little surprise once it comes into view. This painting is receiving the Blick Art Materials Award. It's one of a series, Gasworks Series 6. The title is Lunch with the Ruins by Bill Hook. Bill used to be an architect in a previous life, and you can see the quality of line and drawing in this painting. plus the backdrop of the gasworks machinery and equipment in the background just makes for a very interesting backdrop to a painting. Great job, Bill. This painting is receiving the Cheap Joe's Art Stuff Award. It is Golden Mendocino Headlands, done by Carolyn Lord. Carolyn is obviously an accomplished painter. Look how simple a painting this is, and yet how much mood and strength the painting has. The ripple of light behind the foreground hillside is particularly well done. This painting is receiving the M. Graham and Company Patron Award. Apologies, Mark, for the pronunciation, but I believe it's Kai Spalaficio de Casera by Mark McDermott. Lovely piece, unique style, I thought, almost a woodcut look, strong focal point, really graphic lines and strong values. Difficult pronunciation, but excellent painting, Mark. Good job. This painting is receiving the Daniel Smith Premier Award. Forgive me for the pronunciation, but I believe it's Matilda Poppies, done by Brenda Swanson. Sorry, Brenda. Brenda is a well-known watercolorist and obviously knows what she's doing. Just a beautiful floral painting that's got both energy and excitement in it. One I'd like to say I painted. This painting is receiving the Barbara Pitts Watercolor Award. It is Childhood Memories, done by Xin Feng Shi. What can I say? There's not much to critique. It's so well done, limited palette, lovely calligraphy and lines, simple shapes, just a nice piece. This painting is receiving the Harriet Q. Johnson Award. It's titled Sunlight Returns by Jensen Chow, and I think one of the strongest paintings in the show. In fact, possibly one of the strongest watercolors I've ever seen. What the artist captured here in the simple technique was what watercolor is ultimately about, which is the light. What a knockout painting. This painting is receiving the Northwest Watercolor Society Purchase Award, so the society will own this. It's Gossamer Wings, and it's by Renee Eisenbart. When I first saw this, I really wasn't sure of the technique, but as I looked closer, I realized the quality of this painting. I think the artist is doing something that very few people are, and I would encourage her to run with this as far as she can. Excellent painting, Renee. This painting is receiving third place award. It is Nap at the Sawmill by Karen Maya. Just Again, this is what watercolor is all about. I can count maybe 3 colors in the entire painting, but the values, the shapes, the line, the perspective, the composition, everything about this painting is working. This painting is receiving 2nd place award, and it's titled Bubbly by Janine Hilton. And there's one thing about portraits that I particularly look at. If they can capture the personality and soul of that person. And I don't know this this person in the painting, but I feel like I do now simply by looking at Janine's painting. She just did a lovely, lovely job. And for our 1st place winner, A Breath of Fresh Air, done by Dongfeng Li. I have seen Lee paint before, and if you guys haven't, I'd suggest you maybe check it out. He paints with a brush in one hand and a foam roller in the other, and he builds up these lovely formed paintings with the two. Very limited palettes, but emotional and just masterclass. Very good job, Lee. And with that, I'd like to thank and congratulate all the artists who submitted work to this year's show. It was my honor to be the juror and workshop artist, and I hope to see all of you soon. Thanks again.
Well, let me just say congratulations again to all of the artists. It was a really difficult show to jury. Some fantastic work. I apologize if I mispronounced names and titles, but thanks again for including me in this, Molly, and the Northwest Watercolor Society. I would love to do it again. Thanks, you guys.
Unmute.
There you go.
I'm still getting used to Zoom. So anyway, thank you, Ron. You did an amazing job. And I know how difficult that was for you to do. I can't even imagine it probably. How long did it take you?
Well, I made my first pass, when I received it, and then I was working, so I had to get this done. And I took another pass over the weekend. And literally by the time you got the video, I mean, I was still looking at paintings. Like we were talking earlier, any of those paintings could have been juggled around to award winners and selected paintings. So just beautiful work, everyone.
It's a gorgeous show, and I really encourage everybody to go and look at it online. Everyone who entered the show will be getting a catalog in the mail. I got the notice from the printer today that they are in the mail, and that will be going out. And by the weekend, probably by tomorrow, we'll be posting the catalog again with all of the award winners in it. So if you are an award winner, you will be able to see what the value of your award is. I will tell you, our 1st place award winner receives a $2,000 cash award. Our 2nd place award winner receives, I believe, $1,300. And our 3rd place award winner, Peggy, what is that? Is that $750 or $850?
I think it's, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know.
I think it's $850.
Okay, I don't know.
Place award winner, and the purchase award is $1,000 award, and that award is purchased, and it goes in the Fred Hutch Cancer Research Center in downtown Seattle, and it is part of what we call our permanent collection. So that's what the purchase award is. And everything else is a cash award or donated by our various sponsors. And I actually would like to share my screen with you right now so that you can see who our incredible sponsors are. They all of these various companies and everything donated to this show. And we especially want to thank Daniel Smith. They have always been and will continue to be our Platinum Plus donor, which means that they donate over $2,000 worth of merchandise to our shows every year. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And they are a huge supporter of Northwest Watercolor Society. And we are a huge lover of Daniel Smith because they make some of the finest paints in the world. So I would like to have you all take a look at that. And, you know, Ron arranged for some of these donations to be made, and Carla O'Connor donated something. So, I mean, we just have a lot of wonderful support, and I just wanted to make sure you all saw that. So, okay, how about questions? Does anybody have any questions that they want to talk about?
There's just been wonderful comments about awesome show. Thanks to all. Congrats to the organizers. Excellent job, Ron. Congratulations, artists. It's just been wonderful show. Yeah, it's just been wonderful comments. Not a lot of questions, but wonderful comments.
No questions at all, huh? Do you have any answers, Ron, without any questions?
Okay, will this entire recording be available to watch later?
Yes, it will.
Judy Baker.
Yes, it will. It will be, I have to wait until it's compiled and put together by Zoom, and then we will post the link to it on our website, and the website will link to our YouTube channel. So yes, it will be available. You can watch it again and again.
Yeah, Molly.
No problem.
Just one thing to the students who took the workshop. I know there was a lot of videos that we played. All the students will get a copy of the video or the link to the videos, plus the live demos I did. So I was a little tired after a 4-day workshop, so I'll get to them this weekend, and with Min and Nancy's help, we'll get them to you guys.
Great.
Thanks again for taking the workshop.
Okay, Ron, we got a question from Liz Walker. She says, do you discern between acrylic and watercolor paintings?
Only when I'm talking to my wife, who's an acrylic painter. No, you know, I know that there were some acrylic works there, but they were handled in that, you know, that freshwater medium style. But no, I don't think so.
Okay.
There were some acrylics in this show, but it was not as large a percentage as I expected, and I'll tell you why. We relaxed our criteria quite a bit. We allowed people to go down to 7 inches on their small, you know, minimum size on their paintings. We allow people to present their art framed in various different ways. Nothing has to be put under a mat anymore. Nothing even has to be put under glass or acrylics or what do you call that stuff?
Plexiglass.
Plexiglass. No. Brain fart there. Nobody has to put anything under plexiglass anymore unless the painting sells. And I think that's one of the reasons we had so many entries in this show. You know, unless your painting sells, you don't have to frame it. You don't have to ship it. You don't have to do all of those things that everybody has always had to do in the past that I know keeps a lot of people from entering the shows. So I think that's one of the reasons. Plus, people are home with COVID and they have more time to paint. And there's just more people out there trying to keep themselves inspired and keep themselves as practicing artists. And so we just were blown away by the participation in the show. It was really, really amazing. So we're done early.
Okay.
Yeah, we're done early. If anybody has any questions at all, please ask them now. It's a gorgeous show. Please keep checking online. One of these days, we're going to have a gallery up that works. But in the meantime, you'll be able to see the catalog. And the catalog is also, if you would like to have a printed catalog, you can purchase it. All you have to do is get in touch with Peggy and send the required amount of money, and she'll send a catalog in the mail to you. Thank you, Doreen. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Peggy. You're a doll. And Ron, we can't thank you enough. You've been a big supporter of NWWS for a long time, and your wife is adorable, and she taught me everything I know about Zoom, so thank her for me.
Me too, but we won't say anything. It was Molly, it was my honor. I was just blown away by this year's show. Thanks for including me.
It was great, and I'm so glad you were our juror this year. So glad. All right, everybody, I think that's it. I hope you had a good time, and this video will be available again if you'd like to see it in the future. Just go to nwws.org. All right, everybody, good night. Have a great time.
Thank you all.
Okay, bye-bye.